also in Stuttgart now, wants to spend some fun time with his family. So first I want to say welcome to Benny. It's really great that you're taking the time. You're very, very busy, as also Micha, who was here before, still creating, moving up Viva con Agua all over the world. And although Micha has given us a little bit of an introduction already, it would be really nice if you could share, almost as if Micha wouldn't have been here before, a little bit from your perspective. So the title of this next session is Leadership and Community Building. And as you know, and all the others know, because I shared of this a little bit, that you were a professional soccer player and came back with a beautiful idea, and then you started this movement, and you're kind of the leader of this whole thing. But there's many more leaders nowadays as well. But maybe you can just start with a little bit of an introduction yourself and how this whole thing started, because the participants in here are, hi, Rosie's also back now, nice, hi, Rosie. They don't know yet. So yeah, welcome, Benny, nice that you take the time.
Yes, thank you for the introduction. I'm happy to be here. Unfortunately, I do not have a nice dress like our friend.
George.
Which is really beautiful. I'm sorry for that, but I'm happy to be here anyways. Danny and myself, we know each other since long time, maybe 15 years soon, or 20 or 15 maybe. So of course I'm happy to support and to tell you a little bit maybe about where I'm coming from, what I'm doing, and what maybe also we learned from the 15 years of our experience with this one here. Viva con Agua. Yeah, you can see the drops. That's the logo of the whole thing, which started 15 years ago, and basically, happened to us in Germany. You'd say like a virgin birth. Yeah, it was coming to us more than we were reaching out to it, it all happened after a trainees camp in the Caribbean island of Cuba. So I was playing football, soccer. Back in the days, and we had a trainings camp in Cuba, and after that trainings camp, for me there was the question, do I want to continue making my professional soccer career, or do I want to stop and travel the world and do social projects on maybe in other countries, since I always wanted to change, I always wanted to travel. I always loved to be out there, and so I was thinking about how my life continues, basically. And one day I decided, all right, now I know what I want. I will stop playing soccer. I will stop being a professional football player. I will do a world trip somehow. I bought a map, and I met a friend. I bought a map, a world map, and I was putting it on the table, and I was thinking about how can I travel the world? Where would I go? From which country to which country? There was something, I heard something about all around the world ticket, some airplane tickets, which you can use for 1 year if you always go in one direction. Something like this. There's something like this out there, I heard. So I was making up my mind where to stop, how to go around the globe, basically, to work in social projects. And that's it for my professional career. That was the decision that very morning there. And well, the same afternoon, all of a sudden my phone rang, and the manager of the football club called me and said, listen, man, you need to continue playing football. And I was like, damn, man, this morning I was just, decided to stop. I didn't tell him, I couldn't tell him. But in my mind, it was like, oh, wait a minute, I just stopped, So now you're asking me to continue. So I asked for 2 or 3 weeks, giving me 2 or 3 weeks time to think about how to continue. And well, within these 2-3 weeks, basically the idea of what Viva con Agua is today started, basically. There was no name that time. It was just a rough idea. And the rough idea was, why don't we use the people around this football club? It's a famous football club in Germany. There are many, many people coming to each game. And, you know, there's media reporting about it every day. You know, there are sponsors, other companies who support it, and blah, 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 blah. So I was like, why don't we use that energy around that football club to do something good? You know, maybe I can continue playing football, but combine it with that idea of traveling the world and do social projects. So basically, I try to combine these two things these two different things in my life, try to combine them. And that's how it started. We started researching, you know, looking for a social project, which could be our first project. Of course, we started researching in Cuba because we just were there with the trainings camp. And that's how everything started. We found that water project in Cuba and we said, listen, this is it. This is the project we want to support. Now let me continue play football one more year and start that Viva con Agua idea, use the football team, use my colleagues and the players to basically, well, collect money and raise awareness for this water project in Cuba. And that's how, as I said, a virgin birth a little bit. All of a sudden, I kept on playing football, but I was running that water project there. So this was the very beginning of everything. And what we said from the beginning, and maybe that's a little bit interesting for you also, what we said was not like we know what we do now and we will tell you what activities we do. I mean, we were just some people, you know, I asked some friends if they want to join and blah, blah, blah. So there was no big team or we didn't have money or something like that. So what we just started with was that we said, listen, Viva con Agua is a platform where everybody can bring in their own ideas. That was basically from the beginning one of the very important pieces of our DNA. Yeah, it's a platform. It's like a social network. I mean, maybe not social network, but a social platform where everybody can come in, you know, bring in their own ideas, you know, find synergies with others who bring in their own ideas and try to cooperate in that sense where we do something together for that water project in Cuba. Yeah. Like that platform idea back in the days and still today is a very important idea within Viva con Agua. And the second maybe major idea was what we call and still call all profit, which means basically move away from that, you know, non-profit. I mean, non-profit, it already starts with like a negative word, you know, non-profit. Of course, it's non-profit if you look at the organizational form and nobody, you know, gets rich doing it or something like that. So of course, it's still non-profit. But what we said is we want to be the first all-profit organization. And that means, for us, it means an organization which has activities which are fun, you know, which actually, where you can celebrate while doing good. You know, I know there are many difficult subjects out there, and you know, sometimes you're not in the mood to celebrate, and that's okay. But in general, we wanted from the beginning to connect our activities with a good feeling. You know, to say, listen, why don't we use music? Why don't we use sports? Why don't we use art? Why don't we try to motivate the young people in that change? You know, not only looking at the politics or waiting for the big corporates to do something, but be active ourselves. I mean, I was 24 myself back in the days. So, and that was the main idea, to say, listen, okay, we come together, we do something together, and it needs to be fun, you know, and if that extra energy comes together, then we can find money or donations or awareness for that water project in Cuba. So that's how we started. The football team supported it, the media supported it. So all of a sudden, so many people were coming in. All of a sudden, so many activities were coming in. We ourselves had some activities ourselves. And that's how we managed within the first year that we collected 50,000 euros for that water project. And there were all these sometimes freaky ideas. Some midwives, you know, in the hospital, they were donating for every water birth. Yeah, for every mother who was giving birth for that child, for that child, they were donating 5 euros to Viva con Agua, the midwives in the hospital, yeah, for example. Or of course you had music concerts and you had other stuff and different things. So all these funky activities, and celebrities were coming in and all of that. So that's how we managed to get this 50,000 euros. And after that, we were like, okay, is this it? One project done, or do we continue? And then we decided, no, we want to continue. We think with that DNA, actually, we can have an extra benefit. We want to continue with that special form of activism or movement. And that's when we started an NGO. And that's when we decided to do first water projects in Africa, in Ethiopia. It was the first project on the African continent. And that's how then Viva con Agua evolved after the first year, and just kept on growing. So why did we decide to continue? We had a very clear insight that there's a big potential and maybe even a need for especially in Germany. I think in Germany, but not only in Germany. I mean, I'm quite familiar with the African context as well. I see the same in Africa, in different countries as well, that you have many organizations and they are like, these big guys, with the donors, that the official, I don't know, the USAID, or the European Union, or all these big NGOs and stuff like that. But that's like a very, I don't know, they are not really connected to the young people in the cities, or the young people in the universities, or the musicians or the artists, or that kind of powerful movement which you have there in all these urban hubs. So many NGOs, also especially in Germany, they try to address the old people, because the old people, that's where the money is. That's where they get their donations from. So these NGOs are old themselves. And that's where we try to come in, to say, listen, we want to bring together young people. We want to use these universal languages of music, dance, and art, and all the others to activate and just to be active together in order to produce some extra energy which we can channel towards the project. Maybe that a little bit to tell you about the history and the DNA of Viva con Agua. And Dani asked me also to elaborate a little bit about maybe what do you need as a leader in a growing network like this, or in an organization like this, which is put together from so many volunteers, from so many people you don't pay, or you can't pay, but they all want to give something, they all want to do something, maybe they want to be part of the movement. I know that is also sometimes a little bit different in Uganda than it is in Germany, of course. But that was our experience here as we started in Germany, also in Austria and Switzerland, the first years when we were here, to say, listen, so many new people were coming in, so many volunteers were coming in. And the question is, how can you keep track? I mean, we had this, or we still have this activity, not this year, but normally we still have this activity. To give you a small example, like how these volunteers are active, we have an activity where we collect the deposit on the plastic cups. Yeah, in Germany, for example, on a music festival, there are plastic cups. Probably Michael was telling you about this already. No, okay. So they are selling a beer, for example, or cola or water, and you would get it in a plastic cup, and the plastic cup, you would pay for the drink plus the plastic cup. The plastic cup is maybe also €1 or something like that, 2,000 shilling or something in Uganda. So after you drink it, you can give back the plastic cup and you get back the money, right? So you pay a deposit on that plastic cup. So Viva con Agua started collecting these plastic cups in order to make that deposit into a donation. Yeah. So volunteers are going to festivals. Right now it's 150 festivals every summer. So many people are active like that. They go out, they collect plastic cups from the visitors in order to collect donations for Viva con Agua. So the visitor does not need to go back to the stand, to the whatever bar, but they can give it to the Viva con Agua collectors, and that's a donation then. Later we give it to the festival and they give us the money and we have the money for the water project. So with that activity, we were like, after 2, 3, 4 years, we were scaling that activity up. We were doing it on 150 festivals and so many other concerts. And all of a sudden, there were 55 crews only in Germany, 55 cities, different cities, where volunteers were sitting within their own crew. Right now, they are in Switzerland as well, they're in Austria as well, they are in Uganda as well, you know, in Cape Town, in Addis Ababa, or even in Mozambique, or some of them, they are in Nairobi, you know, they are all spread out there. So how can you make sure that all of them are still following the same ideas? How can you make sure that, you know, not all, I mean, because Viva Con Agua is a water organization. If you all of a sudden have so many people out there, maybe one thinks, oh, but anti-racism is also important. You know, why don't we move against the, I don't know, the nuclear power, or why don't we do something else? You know, or just change the style. All of a sudden, you know, they would not have fun anymore while they have activities, or anything can happen, right? If they are so spread out. So that's a very good, was for us also a very good question. How can you do it? And I think in general, there are maybe two ways to compare. One is you can try to control everybody, right? You make strong rules, you try to control what they are doing, which is actually very hard in 55 cities, but that kind of approach, even with your small team, yeah, it doesn't need to be 55 cities. It can be just 5 guys, you know, and you want to keep them together on the same vision, or on the same track, on the same culture of your idea. And then maybe you can really try to control them and give them very strict rules, or you try to more mobilize them or inspire them, motivate them in organic and natural ways. Yeah, and think about, okay, how can everybody be intrinsically motivated to go together in the same direction? Yeah, that's the approach actually Viva Con Agua is trying to do. How can we make sure that the whole community is trying the best they can to go towards the vision water for all and all for water, or to do the best they can to always try to find that, you know, good line of all profit and a joyful approach towards, you know, supporting water projects, and all these cultural and vision elements of Viva Con Agua. How can you make sure that all of them follow? And our approach really is to say, okay, we want them to be convinced from the inside. We want to try, and how can you do that? For me, actually, there are especially two levels maybe for me, which are important. One is a clear vision. A clear vision, which in our case is water for all and all for water, which you have to continue all the time. Because as I said, the other guy wants to go against nuclear power. The other guy wants to say, but now the Nazi movement is really bad, we need to tackle that. Or the next one says, now we need to talk about gender, you know, and all these topics out there. It's such a chaotic world, isn't it? You know, and it gets more chaotic every day. So what you need to do, I think, to be clear what you are as an organization, is you have to keep the vision clear, and you have to repeat it all the time, and you have to be very strict with it, because at the end, anyways, it gets a little bit bigger. Because when you talk about water, you're also talking about sanitation, and you're talking about hygiene, and maybe you need to say something about water privatization, or, you know, all these related topics. But that comes from, you know, that's a given, that anyway happens. But you have to always be clear with your vision, not only for your supporters to know who you are, but also to be clear as a brand, if you want to call it like that. Yeah, you have to let the people know this is what we stand for. And the difficult thing about it is, I mean, once, it's very repetitive. Second, you need to accept your limits. That's also very important. You need to accept that actually, not even in the water space, we will solve all the problems, right? So how can we solve all the problems with all the other issues, right? So I think that kind of Demut, I don't even know what the word is in English, but that kind of humbleness maybe, or that kind of insight into your own limitation. Yeah, I think that's a very important step, and say, listen, sorry, we cannot handle everything. That's what we can do, and the rest, if you want to go against Nazis, if you want to be active for gender or whatever, there are many organizations who are out there who might be experts for that, but we keep it clean like water. So I think that element of where do you go, and that kind of vision is very, very important in order to make the people, or to give people orientation to the inside and also to the outside. Then the second level in our case, and for that I can share real quick my screen if you want. Desktop, okay, why not? Now you see yourself, right? Okay, where do I have it? Here.
Actually, the pictures of the group you only see on your own screen.
Okay.
So you can move it around on your screen, but you don't move it for the others. Everyone does it on his own screen.
Can you see it now?
Yeah.
That's how we look on what's really important for us, what we call culture, maybe organizational culture, yeah, or something like that. That's the model we use in order to explain people what we mean with it. Okay, as you can see, it's an iceberg. It's a very rare example. You don't see these types of pieces anymore so much on this planet. Unfortunately, they are all melting. No, but yeah, we are using that model of an iceberg, yeah, as you can see. An iceberg typically it has an upper part. Yeah. Do you see my cursor as well?
Yes.
It has an upper part, but normally the upper part is way, way smaller than what you can see on below the water line, isn't it? So when you look at, when you look at maybe an organization, what can you see? Yeah, you can see, maybe if you go to the office, maybe you can see how the office looks like. You can see how the people dress. You know, maybe you can listen how they talk a little bit. Yeah, maybe you can see their projects or their campaigns or all of that. That's the visible parts. All right. So that's what you can maybe see with your own eyes. But that's only a fraction of what the whole organization is all about. Where it comes from, how it treats its people, what it stands for, what's how it looks into the world. Yeah, how the relationships are done. You know, you have a fancy iPhone and it looks really fancy, you know, but what you don't see is that the Chinese people are jumping out of the windows in the factory because the work environment is so bad or whatever, you know, that kind of thing. Or you see the fancy fashion fancy fashion brand, you know, with the beautiful lady wearing that dress, you know. What you don't see is, I don't know, the kids who are actually sewing or putting together the stuff in Bangladesh, you know, or getting the cotton in India. That kind of stuff you don't see. But that's actually, you know, the real impact, what that organization is driving. So that kind of idea we also follow with Viva Agua. Yes, you can see music festivals. Yes, you can see maybe art galleries or other stuff. But what we also want to talk about and focus on is how actually are we doing this? What are the invisible parts of the culture? Yeah, like how do we communicate with each other? How do we look at each other? How do we organize our hierarchies? How do we perceive our colleagues, for example? I mean, being a founder, maybe you think, oh, they're all lazy, I have to kick their ass in order to work, or you think, hey, they're all amazing. As long as I give them, you know, whatever the platform, then they will be even better than myself, you know, and that, which is a tricky part for some bosses to you know, bring in people who are better than yourself, actually, because they always want to be the best or something like that. So these kind of invisible stuff, And at the end it boiled, what you can see, how you relate to each other, how you communicate, and what are the cultural basic assumptions, we call it, which holds the stuff together. I will maybe in a minute talk to you about the culture and the basic assumptions for a short moment, but I want to highlight one thing, and that's here the level of the rituals. I think it's a very important or interesting one, because it's like a level where you actually, I mean, think about Christmas, yeah? So once a year we celebrate Christmas, and it's a visible thing, it's a ritual, yeah, where you can, maybe you get, you know, they celebrate it differently all over the planet, but some of them they don't, of course, but in our culture, for example, the kids, they get some presents, and you know, you have that kind of, maybe you're singing together, or you go maybe to the church or something like that. That's how the Christian people in Germany, they would celebrate the Christmas. But what they do is also, I mean, what a ritual does, it is visible on the one hand side, but it also expresses a deeper level. It expresses a cultural level. It expresses, you know, it has that religious background and blah, 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 blah. So that's very interesting, because your rituals can help you to make your culture visible. Yeah? If you, for example, what we do, small ritual in every important meeting, we start with a check-in, which is quite an easy one. Yeah, to say, listen, when we have a meeting, we first have a check-in. Why? And you would say, well, it's just a check-in, you know, what does it tell you about the culture? But if you make it, if you are aware of maybe the benefits of a ritual like a check-in, it's you do it because you are interested in the person's maybe personal state at that moment, you know. Everybody checks in and he says, listen, today I'm feeling good, you know, or I'm feeling not, I'm a little bit sad today, and you know, don't get me wrong, maybe I cannot work 100% today because I'm a little bit sad. And it gives you a holistic picture of that person, and it expresses the interest from the group to each other. And you're not only talking about that project or that work stuff, but you try to make space, give space for everybody to express them fully, yeah, and welcome everybody as a human being fully in the circle, stuff like that. So that can, maybe a small example, like a ritual, like a check-in, you know, which is a visible thing, and you can do it every meeting, but it can express so much stuff which you want to express with that ritual. So that level of rituals, I think, is also very important in that. And then to maybe to dive really quick deep down to the level of the basic assumptions. That's something what we were developing together, but yeah, and then try, and also to be honest, we partly developing it together, and partly also it was, we were extracting it from what we can see within Viva con Agua, basically, you know, to say, listen, Viva con Agua is always about these 4 basic assumptions in a way. It is about developing, you know, about creating development frameworks where everybody can develop themselves, you know. It's about potential, looking at the world in a positive way, having a positive worldview, believing in positive change, that it's possible, and you don't, you know, you not only, you know, that kind of stuff. Of course, that whole connection thing, what I told you with the platform and the synergies and working together and not against each other. And of course, the joy, the activism, you know, what you heard from Michael this morning, the creativity and all of that. So these are what we call basic assumptions, to say, listen, when you are within Viva con Agua, you probably share that the way, I mean, we all share it in a way, that's how we look into the world. Yeah, if you are somebody who's not interested in connection, or who doesn't believe that cooperation is helpful, then probably you're not long with Viva con Agua, because that probably won't fit for long, you know. So it's something, when we talk about the culture in several rounds, people are like, oh yeah, boring, you know, why are you telling me this? But that's a no-brainer. But actually it's not, because especially, I mean, if you share that, you're like, yeah, but that's clear. But you know, don't expect that everybody shares it, because there are other people who are the other way around. you know, who think that the world is a battle, you know, or war, and you have to fight everybody. You know, that's also people who have that kind of idea. And Viva Con Agua more has the idea of love and play. You know, to say, listen, the world is a playground and a dance floor, and we should dance, you know, through life also. Not forgetting, of course, the real problems and be aware of the difficult tasks we have. But then still, you know, you can decide, okay, how do I approach them? You know, the world is problematic. So am I start fighting the police? Or am I trying to, you know, connect with my best friends to do something good? So you always have the choice how you do it, and therefore there are different approaches. And if you say, oh, of course, connection and joy, that's me, but that's normal, don't expect it to be normal. I think the also qualities we have in ourselves, sometimes they are invisible to ourselves. Sometimes we don't see our own qualities. So yeah, anyway, it may sound like a no-brainer, but we also were repeating that all the time. We were, you know, talking about it all the time, and we tried to really make that, on the one hand, let's say, the root, which is the culture, and the vision, where you really, you know, that these two parts which would give people orientation. And if you yourself now look into Viva Con Agua and you say, hey, listen, okay, I can see myself in line with my own values in that thing, yeah, between this culture and this vision, I can see myself in that with my own values. That's when people get intrinsically motivated. That's when they say, hey, listen, that's me, man. I can identify with that. I will be part of that because that's who I am. And I think these two elements within in our version is of a movement, they are very important. Of course, you have in between some structural elements, yeah, where you try to organize stuff, and where you say, listen, okay, if we have so many, I don't know, volunteers, or if you have a team which is growing, you have to assign tasks, you know, you have to say, you are this, you are that, like a football team, right? You have to give them a little bit their positions, or everybody has to find their positions, however you want to do it. But at the end, it helps when everybody has a clear understanding of what their role is, right? So there is a structural element towards it. You cannot only go with a little bit of vision and a little bit of culture, but you have to have some structure in place as well. Because I mean, some people, they don't like the idea of structure, because they say, oh, structure is boring. It has something to do with maybe discipline, or and I don't like it, something like this. But I really like structure, in the sense of this, where structure is the, how can you say, the, like a bodyguard, yeah, for a growing potential. I mean, for a growing energy, if you want to call it like that, for growing possibilities, yeah, for new opportunities, for maybe some new business ideas, or additional business ideas, or whatever you have, whatever you are in, it doesn't matter. When you grow something and you have more possibilities, it gets a little bit more big or complicated or whatever, then you have to adjust your structure. It can be a flexible structure. It doesn't need to be difficult or hard or hierarchical, but you have to adjust a certain level of structure in order to hold that potential. And therefore, for me, the structural elements are also important, as I said, like a bodyguard for additional energy, maybe. One maybe or anecdote about the basic assumptions, about the cultural basic assumptions, because I think it's funny. There's something from Uganda, isn't it?
Yes, we have a few participants. So some of them already just had to leave because they have to switch to their home place, and they will come back in like probably 10-15 minutes when
later,
they were home,
yeah,
because they were in a co-creative space. But we have
no problem. It doesn't matter. Everybody can relate. The thing is, we were now having these cultural assumptions, like the one we were talking about just now. So then after some time, after so many project trips, after so much exchange we had, especially also with Uganda back in the days, we were thinking about, okay, now we are on the edge of establishing Viva Con Agua in Uganda. Okay. So now, since, I don't know, 5 years, there's Viva Con Agua in Uganda. And at the beginning, we were like, all right, now how are we dealing with the cultural assumptions? You know, being aware of the colonial background, you know, of our of the approach, or, you know, the approach like back in the days where white people thought they have a solution for Africa, you know, or they now try to bring in their own culture, so to speak, to a different continent, no matter if it's South America or Africa. I mean, it's been the Europeans who were, you know, taking over, and who didn't think about maybe how their culture can damage other cultures as well, right? So that kind of just post-colonial, you know, sensitivity, let's call it like that. So we were like, hey, man, if we now go to Uganda and tell our Ugandan friends that actually we brought a culture which they need to adapt or adjust to, we are the same, man. You know, that was our thinking. That was our, how can we do that, man, without being the same colonial assholes like our ancestors, you know? And so what we did was, and I remember it still very vividly, and we had a meeting at the Goethe Center, talking about cultural colonialism, at the Goethe Center, which is actually very nice in Kampala. It's a nice rooftop there. So we had a meeting there with all our Ugandan team in that moment. And we were saying, listen, guys, we have that problem. There is Viva Con Agua, and we feel that it's strong because of that cultural baselines, you know, that's what it binds together. We don't want to control the people. We want them to be intrinsically motivated. Basically the same I told you now. And we're like, and then, but there's one problem. If we now tell you which culture to use, then we feel really bad. And what do you think about it? And they were like looking at us, hesitating. And they're like, man, are you stupid? You know, we are here because we like the approach of Viva Con Agua. And if that's, you know, if that is the boiled down culture, I mean, we feel it anyways. I mean, that's what we do all the time. Now you tell us about that culture a little bit more precisely. Of course, we want to adjust to that. You know, we want to work with that culture. Why are you thinking about other stuff? Which was a very interesting insight for me, where you try to be super correct, you know, and you're thinking and political correct and everything, and all of a sudden you realize, oh man, I was shooting over the top, you know, with that kind of ideas. So that was a very interesting thing, and since then it was clear. Actually, the culture of Viva Con Agua is, of course, a little bit different here, and connection is a little bit, you know, joy is maybe, you know, in Uganda they dance more than in Germany, and in Germany they have more music festivals than in Uganda, and that kind of, it has some varieties, but in general, we now think it's more universal. It's more a universal idea with universal languages, where we give a shit who's, you know, black and white or African, European or Asian. That's a little bit now, or that was the insight basically from that meeting, to say, all right, we don't need to be afraid of sharing that organizational or the culture of the movement also with people on different continents. Yeah, that's for now. I don't know if you have any questions in between. You can always let me know. If you don't have any, I just continue talking. I can talk the whole night.
Yeah, it's amazing. Really,
probably you already realize.
Thank you, Benny. For now, I would just shortly with you together summarize a few points for the participants, also for the ones who will join later and just see the recording or come back. So first of all, you said, okay, creating a movement or creating a community or creating a network of people who want to join together, it's really important, two things. One, to have a clear vision. Everyone follows the same vision. And then secondly, and you use it yourself, I really like the description of the glue what holds the people together is the culture, right? So how do you treat each other? How do you want to co-create? What are the basic assumptions, as you call them, that is really giving the organization, network, movement, whatever, its own feeling, its own language, its own, look like, how is it looking like? So in marketing, or we had just before we had a campaigning workshop, it's maybe something like also the brand identity you would, develop and then work from that. So just to sum it up for the participants, because they all have their strong vision already, they have their strong messages, but still what is really important to see here is Misha was very much like, just do it, just go and walk and make your experiences and whatever. And we also really agree to that. It's always good to just start with your idea and reach out to people to support you, and then learn by walking. And now we learn a little bit more about, but it's maybe good to have a little bit more thoughts about what is the clear message and clear vision you have, and how do you reach out to people. And also when you come together with people, how do you together co-create this culture? As I know, the movement of Viva con Agua started very much also in between friends. And that's probably also what many of our participants will do. They will reach out to their friends and neighborhoods and everything. And so it's easier with the culture. So you can just start, but then on the way, you will realize sometimes to even have to make it more clear and clarify for people who come on board. So what you said as well, like the structure is kind of building itself while you go, and it's maybe flexible, but again, you restructure the whole thing. Same as maybe with culture. You start with a basic thing and then you adapt to it the more you grow and the more people you come in. And maybe you can just say something again on how, in your perspective, it was, or let's say, what are the three most important things, what you could say as an experience to our youth when they now start their own projects or their own networks. What are the three most important things when you talk about culture, what they think about? What are the questions maybe they can ask themselves?
Well, of course, I since I'm a football player, there nothing in the world you can do alone, really. I mean, if you think I'm the number one and nobody else, you're gonna fail. Point. That's it. Period. And the other way around, I think if you join with others with whom, especially at the beginning of an idea, you need to join with people, and friends is a good idea. I mean, which are overcoming together with you, especially in the first days, all these difficult times you're gonna face. I mean, at the beginning, there are some, enlightened beings who the first time they do something, they have a business plan, they get a lot of money and everything is successful from scratch, but it's rare. So normally you're gonna hustle. Yeah, it's gonna be difficult and you're gonna fall and you're gonna ask yourself, is it worth it? You're gonna have stuff where you doubt maybe your way, and stuff like that. So, and that's when you need some others who still believe in the idea, who build you up again, who are still on track while you are losing it and stuff like that. Of course, it's also good to have people who have complementary competences. I mean, to have people who can do something what you can't do. If you don't like Excel, get somebody who likes Excel. If you don't like to talk to people, get somebody who likes it. But very much so, you need a team and you need to do it together. And I always believe in actually what Aristotle said, right? He said that how do you say, the sum of the whole is, if you are getting together in a nice team, then the whole is bigger as the sum of its parts. Yeah. So you need to create that moment where you feel, oh, now we are growing as a team. Now we are in our zone where we are actually outperforming ourselves in a way. Yeah. So that's something which needs to be done. And yeah, so get together with your friends and try to align your egos. Yeah, you won't lose your ego from the very beginning, but try to put your egos together and not your own ego first. Or try to create a collective ego, if you want to say it like that, and try to be a team. Yeah, that's one.
There's a beautiful African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. That's also very much in alignment with what you just said.
Yes, yes, very much. Yeah. So that's one. And then what? Two more. You mean what's important when you start? Or what? That's the question.
Just, one thing is really good what you just mentioned, if they start. Now, what are the most important things for the beginning? Is to find people who are like-minded, who join the course, and then wrap your heads around and put your personal egos aside and see how you can move on with a team or as a team.
Yes.
You shared already the vision, the culture, but what else is
you have to have that counts, man. You have to have a good idea. You have to have a good cause or whatever, it's just to say, hey, I want to change the world, and give me another spliff to smoke from, because I don't know what I do, but somehow I want to change it, that kind of stuff. That won't happen. So you need to have quite a sharp idea and a clear idea of what you actually are going to do. So you need to have that very clear idea, and it needs to be a good one also. Yeah, you can double check with others. Is it good? Is it not? Maybe sometimes you think it's good and others say, no, it's not, or the other way around. For you, it's normal, and they're like, hey, that's a brilliant idea. So you can always double check with others. And you should also double check what's already, if you want to call it like this, already on the market, or what is this an idea which is really new, or are others already doing it, which is not bad. In our case, for example, I don't know, we started then later we started a water brand, a bottled water company. We were not the first ones who ever did it, but we were the first in Germany. So far, so good, So that kind of stuff. Maybe there are already very good ideas which apply and are very successful somewhere else, but they are not yet in your country. Can happen, can work, But so it's also good to look what others do, to actually either copy it or optimize it or use it and change it a little bit, Or you come up with your completely own idea, and then you check, okay, what do others already have, and how does that influence my idea? So that kind of idea development of what you actually want to do, which topic you want to tackle, or which business idea you want to drop, or I don't know what you're up to, or how you want to come up with that initiative in your community. But for sure, that also needs to be in place.
And what goes along with that, and I know also Viva con Agua does a lot of that, is asking the people what they want or what they need, So I think that's also something, not only with your friends and the team you're building up, but also thinking about what does the idea you have, is that something people really need or want, For example, when Micha was on before, we were talking about toilet paper. So it's really easy because toilet paper is something everyone uses. So you don't really have to ask yourself whether people need toilet paper, but there might be other initiatives or projects or services where you have to check whether people really need that. And that's also something which, for example, we do with Watchchild. We always, when we go somewhere, we ask the children and ask the youth whether they think it's a good idea to do something before we even do it. So I think that's something which we also can share here with the youth, that if you have an idea, and it's great that you go out, and the campaign people before also said that for campaigns, go out in the streets and ask the people. Ask the people you're doing it for, and really get a feedback, and then try to, what you just said, Benny, is an important thing. Try to do it differently. So there might be other projects or initiatives who are doing things for the same causes, but maybe they're not doing it in a fun way, or they may be not doing it in a way they really reach the people and inspire the people. So maybe the idea is somehow already there. So that's okay, but how can you make it differently?
Yeah, and I mean, besides that, it goes a little bit into the direction of team or cooperation or whatever. But to maybe, draft it a little bit differently there. And I mean, in our case, if people ask me, oh, what can we learn from Viva con Agua? Yes, maybe some experience we can share. But if you ask me, would Viva con Agua be like it is now if there wouldn't have been a football club at the beginning to start from that kind of level? I'd say no. I don't even know if I would have done it without the football club. For me, it was that moment where you realized, oh man, this is a potential where you can, you already start at a certain level, and that's where things can come together. If you don't have anything like that, it's very hard. I just moved to Cape Town and I started to talk to everybody about Viva con Agua. Nobody knows it. Yeah, like, yeah, but it's a cool NGO. We are doing really cool stuff in Germany, and they're like, NGOs, watch out that you don't damage stuff or you don't destroy stuff, so it doesn't help you a lot. So it's hard when you start from scratch. You start from zero, and that's very, very hard. So I think that's what we also do in other countries, in Uganda, but also in Germany. It doesn't matter where. We always try to align ourselves with others who have who can reach far. Like these days they call them influencers or something like that, or famous musicians or football club or maybe a newspaper, or it can be the Goethe Center. Even it doesn't matter. It can be your coffee company, which is your neighbor. It doesn't matter. But somebody who already has a platform. And try to align with them. Try to see where you can join forces, where you can have the same interests, where you can do stuff together. I mean, it goes into that direction of having a team, but that more like finding partners who give you also a platform, and where you can do stuff together. I think that's also always important to see which kind of stakeholders, they call them nowadays, which kind of stakeholders I can involve into my idea. So they are bringing it out there, or we can support each other, or maybe they can jump in and support me through hard times. I mean, in our case, we had a guy called Frank Otto. He, after maybe 3 years of Viva con Agua, where we were at the point where our personal savings were all gone, we were all broke, we didn't know how to move forward, and it was clear that we now need to move Viva con Agua actually to a next level. Well, he was the guy who said, listen, it's okay, I will give you a little bit of money for the next 2 years every month, so you can make your next step of professionalizing your company or your organization. And I don't know where we would have been without him, for example. So, I mean, of course, that's also was also a little bit lucky to know this rich man who can support us with money, and it doesn't need to be money all the time, but somebody who says, listen, I got your back, or we do this together, or why don't you use my football courts to do your football tournament, or why don't you, I also have maybe a newsletter list which you can use, or hey, I have some other friends, or I have the guys who are musicians, they can help you out, So yeah, collaboration with people who can give you an added platform, and where you can maybe develop shared interest. Yeah. It's also a very, very good idea.
Yeah, so talking about, again, your community and leadership, also these people in these other organizations can be part of your family and part of your community, and are, as we today say, stakeholders, but are important family members. So it's not only the people who are active on the ground and who help you spread the word and maybe collect fundraising, but it's actually also the people who can provide you with something that is needed for your cause. And for example, Viva con Agua is also a good example, but Borchild as well. We always cooperate with other organizations. So for some parts where we know it would be a lot of costs and a lot of resources to do it ourselves, we work with partners. So, for example, Viva con Agua, what I know in the beginning already worked together with the Welthungerhilfe to create the WASH projects. So, you know, sometimes it's better when you allow yourself to think of, okay, what do we need to create our vision and our cause? What elements do we have to bring? And then you realize, okay, this would be really tough for myself because first, maybe I don't have the resources, I don't have the expertise, I don't have the passion for that topic. Then maybe you find a partner who is already doing this and you can do it with them together. Like Benny, for example, just said, you know, it can be a sports club or a soccer club who provides you with the group rooms or the courts, which you then use to do your activities with other youth. Or you know, a dance club where you can use the rooms to do your dance sessions or something like that. So really also think in partnerships as your community, you know, big partners can be partners for a lifetime. Like Benny was just talking about Frank Otto. He's there for 15 years and he grew with the community and with the family into a bigger family, which is really lovely to see then. So yeah, good points. So thank you, Benny, for sharing so much of your experience and expertise. Maybe we have some questions here in the room. I would like to open that up for the participants who are here. Rosie is already getting ready, I guess, for the first question.
I'm thinking to formulate a good question, so I'll take just a little bit of time.
Yeah, okay, that's good. Is there any other questions already? Patrick, can you still hear us?
Yes, I can hear.
You had already planned a campaign and want to start an initiative next week, right?
Yeah, there's a campaign that we plan to do it from the day from 10th up to 24th. So it's basically letting people that that open platform like to start learning to live together, because in my community there are basically some issues that normally arise at water points. The host community, the Uganda nationals, they normally fight with they have some issues again with the refugees. So the living actually, they're saying when it comes to peaceful coexistence, it's not all that well. So we wanted to carry that activity. Firstly, to encourage people to have that spirit of learning to live together. So that is the title of the campaign. So at least these sessions are helping me so much. So
that's
I'm
great.
going to at least add some other things. So the team is ready. So it's like, because they say it needs at least some more people. So we are planning also to add, to recruit more. That's why I raised that question of the procedure of letting people join in order to actually boost up the team.
Yes.
So I'm grateful.
Yeah, you have a very strong slogan, a very strong campaign name, and you have a very strong vision. I think for you, it's important when you come together with your team that you maybe talk about how you want to make that, you know, how do you want to live together? What is the values? What is the culture? How you want to live together? And you then ask everyone who wants to participate what they think, and you find a consensus on that. So that's exactly what Benny was talking about with the iceberg, you know, what are the assumptions, what are the thoughts of the people when they come together, because it's not only one, but all of them have different ideas maybe.
I mean, what I definitely experienced in maybe African context, sometimes it is. I mean, in Uganda, I thought it was a little bit funny because our friends told us, I mean, Nobi, you know, or Ugandan, the founder of Viva Con Agua Uganda, so to speak, he explained to me, like, when they were going with Viva Con Agua to a festival and they were volunteering behind the Viva Con Agua stand to give out water to the people, for example, the people would approach him and say, what's wrong with you, man? Why are you doing this? You know, that's how he told me, how I understood it at least, when he said, well, the people, they don't appreciate a voluntary work as it is maybe in Europe, in Germany or something like that. People are still thinking about their business career, and you know, they want to wear this suit, and if you work at a bank, you are successful. If you're standing behind a stand giving out free water to the people and don't get any money for it, people think you are crazy. So I think that's a challenge, because obviously people, maybe Uganda or in other places, Mozambique the same, Ethiopia, you know, I mean, many of them, they're still struggling. So they are having anything, I mean, even food, you know, or clothing, or, you know, taking care of their family, or somebody's sick, you know, and stuff like that. So I think sometimes I feel, unfortunately, it's not the same everywhere. And even, you know, not everybody has the same extra energy to share with others on a voluntary basis. That's also a fact. So I think that's probably a challenge where you need to navigate with as well.
Exactly, and that's exactly right what Patrick is saying, and what we're focusing on, you know, that you then ask the community and ask the people who want to come together for a cause what they think is right in their culture and in their villages. So, right, Rosie, are you ready?
Yes.
Great.
Now I'm ready. Like, if you are leading a campaign in some community, and then you see at the first time all people are interested in it and they're involved, but then after a while you feel like they're getting bored, you know, like they get sick of it, so they just go out. So how can you, as a leader, keep them involved and interested in the case that you are talking about for a long time? I mean,
well, I mean, that's, you have different, I think, different maybe communities or different things. I mean, in our case, for example, in let's say the European context, it's important to give them possibilities to also move forward, or to change, or to develop within the organization, for example, or within your movement. You know, maybe you start, in our case, you start collecting plastic cups on a music festival, but maybe later you start organizing the team who is collecting plastic cups on a music festival. Maybe later you can, you know, grow into organizing the crew in your city, or maybe later you can, you know, like Dani, who now is the advisory board of the NGO, which is still voluntary, but she's actually leading the NGO in a way, or, you know, being in the advisory board. So you have different levels where you try to make, you know, you have like, maybe there is actually, yeah, it's like we have it like a U, like form like this, where you say you want to, and on the upper level you want to address many people, but then you want to give them, the ones who are interested, also the chance to dive deeper and to take more responsibility, to
find their own specialization.
Yeah, that's it.
Like
that's
the thing that they are good at.
Yeah, that's it. They need to, that's very much it. They need to more skill based, you know, they need to be able to use more of what they really can do, or what they're really passionate about, to bring it on the table.
Invest their energy, invest in their energy, like in something they really do like.
Yes. That's normally what we do. If somebody says, listen, oh, what can I do about Viva Con Agua? The first question would be, what do you like doing the most? Or where are you best at? You know, try to look there and then try to combine it with maybe the social idea. If it's only boring jobs you give them or something like this, then they won't stay for long. So I think that's one. And then I think in the context of maybe a water project, I think it's very important to make people understand how they can benefit from it, from the water project. You know, sometimes they also need to contribute. You know, they need to maybe produce materials, or they need to invest a little bit of money, or they need to contribute in order to make the well or the infrastructure or whatever it is, you know, to get the water there. And I mean, to really take people or keep people interested and create ownership from their side, I think it's very, very crucial to make them understand how it will benefit them and also their families and stuff. So
yeah, and what I can maybe add to that, what I personally really love about working with Viva con Agua and the whole crew is that there's a value for everyone, you know, no matter how much time and resources and expertise you have, everyone counts. So there's this sentence, every drop counts. You know, we see everyone is one drop of the whole water, ocean or whatever. And it doesn't really matter whether you're there for a long time or whether you have 1 hour in the whole year or whether you play a lot of bigger role. Everyone counts and everyone's equal, and we all together create the vision. So I think that's also something really important, that you make the people feel that they're valuable and that everything they do counts, whether they do a lot or just only one-time contribution or something. Thank you for that question, Rosie. Are there more questions for Benny?
One thing you need to move away from, that's very important. I mean, people, it doesn't help if they keep on being motivated because you always say thank you to them. I mean, it is important that you obviously, you know, see the contribution and you value them and stuff like that. But you need to come to a point where they really feel that it makes sense what they do, and not only because they want you to like them or something like that, you know. So if there are people who say, oh yeah, I'm doing it because I want the leader to like me or something like that, that will not last for long. So it's a thin line between, of course, being thankful and for every and value every contribution, of course, but they need to develop an understanding of it makes sense for myself and not only I do it for the boss.
Totally true. Makes sense for myself, makes sense for the bigger cause. And that's beautiful. So is there any more question? Let me see your beautiful faces. Lilian just came back. Juliet is here now as well. She woke up because she lives in Bogota, so she came in later because it's very early in the morning. Hi, Juliet. Nice to see you, at least your screen here. Dalia, do you have a question? I see you moving.
No, everything's clear.
Great. I think we're also very full from 3 workshops today. It was really, really nurturing. I don't know whether Ali or Juliet or Lillian have more questions.
I just need to say something.
No, I really don't have a question.
Okay, thank you, Lilian. And Patrick, yes, you just started to say something?
Ben just said, if you have the idea, you need to double check with someone else whether they also support your ideas. But in the first session, our team raised the concern that there are those, as soon as you shared your idea with someone, they also use your idea. So the more you keep delaying, the more you are preparing to implement your idea, maybe they have the support, the connection, they will immediately start the idea. So how to deal with those issues now?
You mean when you share the idea with someone else, then someone else just does it by himself without you together?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know if this is really happening. I mean, you know, if you have like a multi-billion-dollar idea and you don't want to share it with the other guys in Silicon Valley, yeah, maybe. But besides that, I wouldn't be afraid too much. I mean, it depends what the idea is and how far it is. Can somebody just take it and copy it? I don't know. I wouldn't be afraid too much. Well, we have in Germany that thing of Angst ist kein guter Ratgeber means something like being afraid is not a good consultant or something. So I don't know. Did that ever happen to you? You know, is that something you ever experienced? Or if yes, are you sure that it will happen again? Or did it actually never happen to you and it's just some ghost in your own head, you know? So check that with reality and double check if that's really a serious issue or if that is maybe just a voice in your head which you don't need to listen to. So I think that needs to be double checked. In general, it's about the question is the trust level is very, very, very interesting one. How trustworthy, I mean, are yourself and how strongly you trust others. Yeah, so I feel in some contexts when the trust level is low and everybody thinks, you know, somebody's taking something away from myself if I open up here or if I do this or that job I need to keep for myself because otherwise somebody else will take it from me and stuff like that. It's an understandable feeling in some in ideas in some contexts, but I think it doesn't help to cooperate. If the trust level is too low, cooperation is very, very difficult. Because you never trust nobody, you always try to hide your ideas, you're never up into open sharings and stuff like that, and then it's very hard. So, I don't know. I fortunately experienced a lot of trust, and I always believe if somebody tells me something, I believe in the person or something like that. So I give trust and people give us trust, and I'm very happy about it. If it's not there, that's also, I mean, if the trust is also like glue, if it's not there, everything falls apart. So for me, trustworthy relationships also in your project or business context, very important. Yeah, otherwise it gets very difficult. And I know in some contexts there is not that trust, you know, but for me it's a problem. I don't know how to navigate with that. I would rather move away from it. If I feel that I cannot trust because somebody is misusing my trust or is constantly mistrusting myself, I mean, you know, always thinks that I am not trustful or trustworthy, even though I am, or something like that. It doesn't make sense, man. You're losing your time. So I think it's very important to establish a certain level of trust in order to move forward together, and don't be afraid to turn around or turn the back to somebody. You know, if you turn around and you're afraid that somebody gives you a knife in your back or whatever, that's bad. You need to come to a position where you feel the people are having your back when you turn it towards their directions, and that they got your back, you know. So yeah, establishing trust level, very important. Cooperation without trust, very, very difficult.
Did that help you a little bit further, Patrick, with your concerns?
Yes, thanks so much.
Perfect. So who else would like to ask a question? We have Victoria also back. And Joy is also still here. Now is your last chance for today. I know it has been a lot.
I'm really sorry to join late. I just got back home and I really didn't get much from this session. But I'm glad to be back and I'll watch the recording just to get what I missed. Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you for rejoining, Victoria. I know a lot of you have some network issues. Yeah, Rosie has one more question.
Yes, I have a question. Like, in order to be, the best form of a leader, do you need to be always rough and organized and structured, like giving so tough constructions and so on, or do you need to be smooth sometimes, and to go with the flow?
For me, it's my truth is maybe actually it's a combination. You have to go with the flow. That's important. You have to check the possibilities. You have to be flexible. You have to see what comes up. You have to be definitely emotional. It's also good to show yourself. It's not, I don't think that masks, professional masks help you all the way, to say I'm always that face and I hide, that's the same with the iceberg. It's the same on the personal level. If you always only show your professional 10%, you're weak. You have to, especially your close team and blah, blah, blah. I mean, maybe sometimes you have to show poker face, sometimes you also, in order to whatever, if that's a stranger, if that's a situation, maybe sometimes you have to get in that mode. But with your team and everything, it's important that you are full and that you can also show your weak parts or your emotional parts, or then you are just way more powerful, because that's your whole iceberg and not only the 10% of your professional mask. I know there are different contexts, different jobs, different contexts. Maybe if you are a CEO of Coca-Cola, you need to be that hard man. If you're still in a stock market company, maybe you still have that culture where if you don't eat the others, you're gonna be eaten. Do you have that kind of thing? But I think for the future, you will be more successful if you, especially as a woman. I mean, the way I understand, you have to be very careful with these topics these days, but the way I understand...
I will watch you.
Huh?
I will watch you, what you're saying.
The way I understand, what I appreciate about female qualities a lot, is that that space nature, that emotional and intuitive, all pervading, female quality and that kind of thing. And I think it's very, very sad if you try to be that bossy, person like the other, male leaders are showing, that for me is very dangerous, because then women get more like men in jobs, and that doesn't make sense. I think showing that full deepness of female qualities does very much make sense, and gives the most power to yourself and to the team. But you have to have sometimes a certain, how can you call it, assertiveness, or a healthy warrior, where you say, okay, all right, now there is an opportunity, and now I will go for that. you know, and I don't wait for everybody to understand that opportunity, because I see it and I trust in my vision here, and I'm going for this now, you know, and I'm fighting for this now in a positive way. I'm fighting my way forward to that idea, and that kind of sharpness that also needs to be part of the mix, so to speak. So in that sense, there you also have to have some hard qualities. Maybe male qualities, I don't know. It's a combination, as always, right? It's a unity between these different levels. Maybe you can call it female and male qualities combined, if you want, or just a mix between, yeah, these open, flexible, emotional components, and then sometimes straight, you know, and if it's necessary, also on point and structured.
Yeah, like a combination between the personal side and the bossy side, so that you have both at the same time.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
I mean, it's like sometimes, okay, sometimes there is a, Danny said, don't talk about spiral dynamics, but there is a, I mean, there are different ideas where, if you're really, you know, some people are always trying to make consensus in the team. They're always trying to have ask everybody to decide together, yeah? And then others, they are always fighting about who's the stronger one. Others, they try to be very structured, you know? Or others, they always want to win, you know, stuff like that. Or others, they always feel good in the family, together with family and friends. And I think if you are only always on one of these, like it's like a piano. If you're always on one of these things, or two, it doesn't sound too good. So you want to play on all of them. And sometimes you're like, no, that's, you know, you have to react very hard, and then the next time you're again very soft, and you're just reacting flexibly on what the situation asks you to do. That's the best. Then the best sound comes out of your piano.
Great.
Yeah, it again, I think shows a lot about this, you know, clear vision, knowing about your culture, taking everyone in with whatever they want to bring in, their passion, their resources, you know, what they can contribute, and then going with that flow and seeing. I sometimes have this visual of the swarm, you know, when you see the birds flying and they're in a big swarm, and you see that it's not always one person leading, it's changing. But whoever is leading does also watch, you know, the last ones, whether you still take them in the swarm. So you're moving as a swarm, and there's other people who sometimes have better ideas, and then others have to follow and stuff like that. But you're also not losing someone. So you're kind of in that vision, in that clarity of the culture we want to create together. You're allowing a lot of different, ideas and initiatives and diverse ways of doing things to happen. So let's see whether there's more questions. Leo just stepped out to the bathroom for a moment. I think we have covered a lot of the questions you had already. And also additionally, you know, Benny, we are sitting in workshops since 12 o'clock. And
it's also past 6 o'clock already.
Yeah, it's 6:02 now in our time zone. So if there's no one with an urgent question anymore, I would say we close this session today. And what we said with also the other experts is that if there's the questions from the team coming up afterwards, we will collect them and send them to you, you know, collected in one email. And then if you, we will see what questions there are, and if you could then answer them, that would be lovely. But I think we have covered really a lot, because we had also half an hour more than with the other teams in this session. So yeah, it was really great to have you. It's so inspiring for especially also the participants, you know, to have people who have gone through these experiences already and can share from their experiences. And obviously in every project and every organization, it's different. So it's not a copy paste, but still it inspires a lot to think about the right questions and seeing how you can move forward. So thank you so much also from us and from everyone involved here, I bet. And I hope that these people in the Voice Your Mind group here can one day also share their experiences and wisdom to other people who are going to work on their own projects. So I can see already some upcoming leaders in this group, which is really lovely to see. And then I would just really close this with one of the rituals we're doing in Viva con Agua, but also in Warchild, with the insight of the day. So encourage everyone who is still involved in this round to say maybe one word or one sentence, or just give one comment, whatever you want to share with us about today, maybe not even this session, but today. So get yourself ready, think about what you want to share. We do it in a popcorn way, or we maybe do it with calling out names, maybe that's easier. So I'm going to share it with and ask Rosie to start. What's your insight of the day, Rosie?
Can I be the last one? I want to take a break.
You can't take a break. We're really quick. It's a popcorn thing. But maybe we start
Break to
with Dalia. A thinking break, that's okay. Dalia, what about you?
For me, the day was very informative. Yani, all the sessions were really nice to attend and very helpful for me, especially that I'm relaunching my startup. So it came at the perfect time. So thank you and thanks for all the experts. And I can't wait to have the session, the conference tomorrow.
And do you pass it on to?
I pass it on to Namizio.
To Joy. In the lovely dress, Joy. Are you still there? I don't know whether she's still hearing us.
Yeah.
Yes, hello.
Yes, I'm here.
What's your insight of the day?
Sorry?
What is your insight of the day?
Today mostly is about how to set up your campaign, what you need to do, make sure you have a clear message, and be a leader who will be able to listen to other people.
That's a really beautiful summary. Really nice. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And also
welcome.
To wear a nice dress once in a while, you know, also sometimes important. Who do you want to pass it on to, Joy?
Let's see. Victoria, has she spoken?
Not yet.
Yeah, Victoria.
Hi, Joy.
Hi.
Thanks.
So we learned a lot. Mostly what I can go with is just do it. Be yourself, be real, be original in whatever you do, and believe in God. With God, everything is possible. You can always prosper. If you put in energy, you can always go forth successfully. Thank you. I pass it on to Ali.
Yes, hi everyone. So thank you so much for the inspirational workshops. I missed the first part of the first one, but I'll make sure to watch it in the recording later today. I feel good, happy, accomplished, nervous, and excited for tomorrow. And I wish all of us the best of luck. Thank you so much. And I'll pass it to Juliet.
Juliet just wrote, but I can read it for her because she's in the car and she says her microphone is not so working well. Thanks so much, everyone. Sorry I can't talk, but I'm traveling and my mic is terrible. So it was such an amazing workshop, she says. And I know that we will have more time with her tomorrow. I'm really excited to see you all tomorrow in your breakout, in your sessions. So maybe then we pass it on to Rosie. Are you ready now? Yeah, good.
Actually, it was a very inspirational day. It was overwhelming, you know, with all of this information. I was really surprised and shocked about how successful this was. I didn't expect it to be like that. Like, think about it. If we're having Zoom meeting and it is like that energetic, so think just if we were in the same place, it would be amazing. And I'm really happy today. Thanks for all the workshops and all the facilitators. Thanks a lot for all of you.
Thank you, Rosie.
Without you guys... can be in the same room.
One day we will be all together again, I know. Okay, let's pass it on. How about Patrick? Can you hear us?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you. What is your insight?
In first place, I just want to say thank you so much to our team, the facilitators, and the participants all. It has been a great work from the start up to today. So we still have more days to go and discuss some more things. So I'm really impressed. All these sessions from the start up to this one here, I was paying keen attention at least to get everything because of what I'm doing, like the organization that I founded, and we're doing some other things, plus the campaign that we have to start. At least almost every part of it were covered. So I'm really grateful, and I can't wait for tomorrow. Thanks so much.
Yeah, we can't wait as well. Thank you for your feedback. And are you going to sing tomorrow, Patrick?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and others too, I guess. Beautiful. So let's pass it on to Lillian. Are you there?
Yes.
We have difficulties listening. Can you say it again?
Yeah.
The connection is not really good, Lilian. I'm so sorry. We cannot really hear you. Do you want to write it in the chat? Yeah, Benny, do you want to say something in the end?
Right, I'm just happy. I'm inspired by all of your different voices, and I saw some of your videos. They were also very inspiring. So I thank you for being having me, and I wish you a wonderful day tomorrow, and never stop dreaming.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I can also add before I leave the last word to Leo. I'm really, really grateful for all of you, for the experts and also the participants, and joining our cause in some way. It's Leo, Lydia, and some other team members here. Our cause where we say we want to empower young people and we want to spread dreaming and hoping and also being active in your communities, and it's just so touching and amazing to see what's happening already. So thank you all so much for doing this with us, and then I give it to Leo.
Thank you, Dani. Yeah, I would say my insight of the day is growth. That was the first word that came to my mind. I feel like over the past months we have all really grown on a personal and professional level, and during this program and doing this together, and I think we have grown also together as a small community in this Voice Your Mind program, and now we're about to take the last step tomorrow to do the conference together. And as always, I can just say I feel really honored to do this with you, and I feel like also that this whole program, movement, campaign that we started with this has somehow grown into something bigger than us, that we couldn't have expected when we started it. Now we have, like Benny, so many amazing experts here with us sharing their knowledge, and this enables us, I think, to really move forward. And yeah, I'm really thankful on a personal level, because I think I have also actually learned a lot in this process. And yeah, I'm now just looking forward to tomorrow, and wish all of you the best of luck for your speeches. And as always, we're here to support you. And that's it.
Thank you. And I want to read one last time from Lilian. She says, "Hi everyone, today's session have been enjoyable and beneficial. I have learned how to determined to carry out a good campaign." And I also want to just add, because Leo started it, to say tomorrow is our big day and we're all very excited. And it's not only because of you, but also there's some really more people wanted to join, also from governments and other organizations. So it's a huge chance for us. So what we have built together, honestly, all of you have co-created this with us, because Leo and I, we were not even dreaming of something like this, what's happening tomorrow together. And we are really hopeful that the governments will listen and other organizations will listen, and we will have more people to co-create and join us in these things, so we can do more of these conferences and groups in the future. So thank you also for doing that. And we will definitely have some ongoing, whether it's an alumni group or other sessions. So thank you, Ali, for saying that we will always be a family, and we will also offer something that we will not lose touch. So don't worry about that. But first, let's have a good night or rest of the day and sleep well until tomorrow. And then we see each other tomorrow at 11 in the Central Europe time, and other places, other times. But sleep well and see you tomorrow. Thank you, Benny. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Patrick.
Bye.
Hope you do